The next lesson is حركة. What are حركة? They are فتحة, كسرة, ضمة, and فتحتين, كسرتين, ضمتين. Now if you grew up in South Asian countries, you might have heard this. فتحة is زبر, كسرة is زير, ضمة is بيش. فتحتين is دو زبر, كسرتين دو زير, and ضمتين دو بيش. But for this course, we'll be referring to them as فتحة, كسرة, ضمة, فتحتين, كسرتين, and ضمتين. It's important to note that if any letter has any of these signs from 1 to 3, they'll be pronounced quickly and not stretched. So this would be ba, kha, ma, not ba, kha, ma. It'll be quick. Ba, kha, ma, ni, yi, wi, thu, su, hu. And similar these as well. Lan, tan, han, not lan, tan. They will not be stretched. Tin, shin, in, run, zun, dhun. Number 4 to 6, فتحتين كسرتين and ضمتين are known as tanween. Tanween and nun sakin are the same. We'll explain this a little bit more just a little bit further ahead. So any of these above signs come, if a letter has any of these signs, then they are called a mutaharrik. So haraka, if any haraka comes on a letter, that letter is called a mutaharrik. Okay, this was explained. And then we have these two signs. So jazm or sukun is this sign right here, circle. Or you may get, depending on which type of script you have, you may get, so in the curriculum it was this, you may have the comma or the half moon, or you may have a hat like this. So all the three of these are sukun or jazm. A letter with a jazm is called a sakin. A sakin letter has to be joined with the letter before it. So this noon over here has a sukun. So this whole thing is called noon sakin. And since this has a sakin, it has to be joined with the letter before it, which is a meme with a fatha. So this will be pronounced as man. This will be pronounced as ab. This will be pronounced as hum. Tajdeed. Tajdeed is the sideways 3, and the effect of a tajdeed is the letter will be pronounced twice. So for example, lamma. Lamma. How was this pronounced twice? If you look at the actual pronunciation, it's so lam and then ma. So it's pronounced like this, right? Lam and then ma. So it was pronounced twice. And then inna and bassa. A letter with a tajdeed is called a mushaddad. So this is called the second part of this word is mim mushaddad. This is noon mushaddad. This is sin mushaddad. Okay, so before we mentioned that tanween and noon sakin are the same. So if you can see here, both of these examples will sound the same. This is pronounced as bun, and this is pronounced as bun also. And since these two are pronounced the same, later on we'll come across some rules which will apply to both of them. So it's important to remember that these two are pronounced the same. Next is huruf al-madda. The meaning of mad is to stretch or prolong. There are 3 letters of mad. Alif madda. So remember we said if the alif has nothing on it, then it is alif. And if the alif has a fatha before it, then it is known as alif madda because you will stretch it. So this will be pronounced as ba. And the next is waw madda. If a waw sakin, remember we learned what a sakin is. If a waw has a sukun on it, then it is known as waw sakin. Now if a waw sakin has a dhamma before it, then it will be pronounced as you will have to stretch it. Boo, boo. And a ya madda is when if before a ya sakin there's a kasra, then it is called ya madda. So there's a ya, it has a sukun, so this is called a ya sakin, and before it there's a kasra, so it will be stretched. B. Note the letters of mud need to be stretched for 1.5 seconds, one alif, unless they have any of the two signs below. So these are the two mud signs, and depending on which type of print you have in your copy of the Quran, the Mus'haf, it may look a little bit different, but generally it will look like this, these two signs. And the underlying rule is that if after any of these two signs there is a hamza, then you will stretch it for 2 to 4 alifs. So if we said that one alif was 1.5 seconds, so it would be 2 to 4 times that. And if the letters of mad do not have a hamza after it, then it will be stretched for 5 alifs, so 5 times that. Now there are differences of opinion, but 2 to 4 alifs, if you stretch it anywhere between that, it is acceptable. And when the case comes there is no hamza after it, then you'll stretch it for 5 alifs. Now there are 3 other standing haraka that we didn't mention earlier, and these are the 3 other haraka that have the same effect as the huruf al-madda, the letters in which you stretch. So there's a standing fatha, which will have the exact same effect as alif madda, so it will have a sound. Standing kasra will have a e sound, same as ya madda, and the upside down dhamma will have the same effect as a waw madda, which is a oo sound. Now before moving on, I just want to go back. Here we mentioned 1.5 seconds. Now this is not a rule set into stone, because the question may arise, what if you are reading very fast or you're reading very slow? So just to give an example, let's go to the first ayah of Surah Fatiha. So we have Alhamdu Lillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right, so here we have 3 places where we have to stretch. So we have the standing fatha here. So this is the first place we have to stretch. And then we have alif madda here. See, there's a alif, and before it there's a fatha, so a. And then we have a ya madda here. There's a ya sakin, and before it there's a kasra. So these are the 3 places that we have to stretch. Now they will all be 1 alif, because that was the rule. However, if let's say you're reading fast, so the underlying rule to keep in mind is to keep them all proportionate. So if you're reading fast, you may go Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All these muds must be stretched the same amount. If you're reading slower, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Again, these 3 were pronounced for the same duration. Some readers, when let's say they want to beautify their voice, actually may stretch one more than the other, and this is wrong. You can't go Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. If you stretch this one too long just to beautify your voice, then you're sacrificing the rules of Tajweed for beauty, which is wrong. The ending, however, it is permissible to stretch this. It is very common. You may hear a lot of Qurra or reciters of the Quran stretch the ending. That is permissible to stretch this for a longer period of time. Most of the time you hear Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That is permissible, however, we will not go into the rules of why that is. It's usually at the end of the ayah. If there is a mud, if there are huruf al-madda, then it is permissible to stretch it for a longer amount.